Hello, everyone. I'm excited to go into this next module because now we start our final report. And we're going to take small steps along the way to complete that entire report. I'm going to show you how. We have in our activities here, we have the template for the final report. I'm going to go over that with you in a few minutes. Then there's also a template for the customer factory blueprint, and I will show you that as well. We will be completing the company contact information. That is the information I went over in module 1. So let's just go ahead and take a look at that again. So by now you should have a company that is willing to work with you. It can be a startup business that has been in operation for at least 1 year and that is earning consistent revenue. And that the owner is working on this business full-time. It's not a part-time venture for the business owner. Full-time work, really committed to this business. So those you can see here, these are the criteria. You also need to be sure that you can interview someone at the company, whether it be the business owner, which is typically the case, or a manager or someone else that is an authority that you can get information from. That's something that you should have already been working on since module 1. And then now it's just formalizing it and getting that sent to me. So you have that information. The draft introduction section. And then now we are going to use our template. Now this report, the final report template, it's the same template here that is in the module. So it's the same one. I just put it here for convenience. You can download it here. I've already downloaded it, so I can open it up and show you. And so what I want you to complete here is just a little bit of information, not a lot of information. What I'm looking for here is that you're following the APA format of the template. I want you to download that template in Microsoft Office, in Microsoft Word, and I want you to overwrite on top of the template. Do not create a new template. Overwrite on top of that template. Now I know because we have a team structure here working on this, that you may want to put this in Google Docs so you can work on it together at different times and so forth, and that's perfectly fine. Do not copy the entire template and put it in Google Docs. Only put in the sections in Google Docs that you're going to be working on. And then copy the section without the title, right? So if you're doing the strategic planning section, you can put the title in the Google Docs so you know what you're working in, but only copy the body of the information from Google Docs and paste it into the document. I'm going to show you how to do that because otherwise the formatting gets totally screwed up and we want everything to stay nice and clean for the formatting so that this document is in APA format. I have 2 wonderful examples of completed reports. One of them is a local business, and the other one is, it's also a local business, but a publicly traded business. But both student teams did a fabulous job on these examples, and I thought that they're credit worthy. I have their permission to share them with other students. So you're lucky that you're able to view these wonderful models that you can build your research for the company you're working with. And you can use this as a guide. Okay, so now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you the report template. This template here, it's also in the module, and I'm going to open that up. Brackets in a template mean that you complete information. So here, the company name, you're going to overwrite company name with the company's name that you're working with. And once you've done that, you will delete the brackets. Here, learner's first name and last name, all the names of everyone within your team, delete the brackets. For the date, all you do is click on the date and then even select today's date, and there you go. Now, by doing this, the date is written in APA formal language. When you do an update of the template, because this will be a working document, every week, a couple of times a week, you'll be adding more information to this working template. And this is the start of your template. contents here. I'm not really going to go into this right now because I want you just to focus on the main part and just making sure that the formatting is correct on this. And then we can update the table of contents later. The next thing, what we have is, if we look at our instructions, we're doing the cover page. We just went over the cover page, not a lot of hard or heavy lifting there. The strategic planning section and the introduction section. Okay, so let's just take a look at that. So here's the strategic planning. This is already mostly populated for you. The only thing you're putting in here is the bracketed information right here. The company name, you are going to put the company name in, delete those brackets again. And then if it's a brick and mortar company that you need to include a location, you will include the location. So located in Fort Myers, Florida. You don't need to put in zip code. You don't need to be totally descriptive. You don't need the actual mailing address, but we just want to get an idea of where the company is located. If it doesn't have a brick and mortar establishment, then you will not include that information. You know, it may be that it's an e-commerce company and you can have XYZ e-commerce company has agreed to allow team blah, blah, blah. You can see what you need to do there. Please remove the brackets. The rest here are just instructions for you to keep this document in APA format for the duration of the report. Now, what I'd like you to do is read over this information, and if you feel you need a reminder about this, copy it and put it at the back on the last page of the report if you need to refer to it again. But once you've read it, you should be able to delete this. Okay, so once you turn in this section, this introduction section, I should not see any instructions. So here, one of the things that we're really looking for here, and we want to be very careful, is here, replace the instructions within the brackets, then delete the brackets. All right, now, do not focus this report around you. It's not around you and your team, it's about the company. So we want to be very careful that we're not using terms like we and our and us and I and you. We stay away from personal pronouns. And then sometimes this becomes difficult when we're writing about maybe a female or a male owner of a company. We have a tendency to want to use he and she, but please do not just rewrite it so you're not using personal pronouns. This is an APA requirement. So instead of something like he or she, it can just be the owner. Okay, or the business or something else. You can just reword it so you're not using those personal pronouns. And if you need to do just a finder check up here to make sure you haven't included them, be sure to do that. One thing that I find that when students really get the idea of omitting personal pronouns, the writing tends to become more formal. This is a formal report, formal document. So we want it to be formal in tone. The other thing that I require is college level writing. So we want to be very careful to use a grammar checker, spell check, and we want to be sure that we have good grammar. Now there is one in Word. We can go to review and we can go to editor. And then it can tell us if we have some spelling or grammar errors within the document. Some may have Grammarly or other resources for checking grammar. I do want to warn you on the free version of Grammarly, it does not pick up all the errors. So be mindful of that. And some of you may be accustomed to writing in APA format and referring to yourself as this student. We are not going to do that in this formal report. This report will be provided to the business owner at the end of the course. So we do not write the student. We're just omitting that completely. So although it's allowed for APA, for a formal report, it is not permitted. So we're not going to do that. And we want to stay away from asking the reader questions. We want to write statements instead. So if you have a tendency to want to write questions, just rephrase it as a statement. Do not use contractions. It is, okay? So it is instead of it's. So you want to be very careful to stay away from contractions. And then you do not want to leave a heading at the bottom of a page within this document. If you have a heading at the bottom of a page, move it to the top of the next page, right? So a heading should never stay all by its lonesome at the bottom of a page. We just need to move it to the top of the next page. And because this is a dynamic document, and as you write, the text will move down the page, then that will work. One thing I want to mention about moving a header to the top of the next page, let's say it's located right about here somewhere where you still have one line to go. I would still prefer you move it to the top of the next page. But what I'd like you to do is put your cursor just before the heading, whether it's a level 1 heading, which is in the center of the document, or if it's a level 2 heading on the left of the document. What you'll do is with a PC, Control Enter at right with the cursor in front of the heading, wherever it may be, Control Enter. With a Mac, it would be Command Enter. What that does is it brings it to the top of the next page and keeps it there. Instead of just pressing enter, 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 enter until you get to a top of the next page, that heading will move up and down the page. If you do Control or Command Enter, it stays at the top of that page. So I'm giving you all sorts of insights of things that I've seen in the past. There are some tables and figures in this document, in this report. We want to be very careful that we be sure that the entire figure or the entire table, along with its heading, are on the same page. So again, as the document's dynamic, it's moving down the page, you may find you have a table that's split between 2 pages, or you may have the heading at the bottom of one page and the table on this next page. Just move the heading and move the table so it all fits on the same page. It's this information. So now if I were doing this, I would take this all and just delete. And then what happens is my next section, my introduction, will move up the page. Here, you're filling in this information here anyway. And this is what I want you to work on. We've already done the strategic planning. We've put in the information about the company. Here we go. That's all we have to do for that strategic planning section. We've read all the things that we should not be doing. We've deleted that, or we've moved it to the last page of the document, which is fine. Now we have our introduction section that we're going to work on. And here, what is it telling us to do? Include a brief background about the company. All right, so now you're going to get some basic information about the company. You don't need a lot of information, and you may add to this over time after you do the interview with the company. Maybe you can find out when the business started, who are the founders, what drives the company's passion, and so forth and so on. Maybe number of employees, just some basic information about the company. What I'd like you to do is, if you are putting this information in Google Docs or from another document, I want you to take it and leave the brackets and then just paste it within the brackets. So if you do that, your formatting should stay intact. The only thing is, if your computer is set up under styles, so if I look under styles here, if it's set up that it will not do double line spacing, then you would just need to go to your double line spacing and make sure that it's double line spaced. But if you paste copy within the brackets, it should stay in the proper formatting. And then once you've copied that information in there, then go ahead and delete the brackets at that point. So now I'll delete the brackets, and hopefully it should stay in the proper formatting. Okay, so now I have that all set up. All right, so now I've included this information, and that's all we need for this document. I just want to see that you are using the template, that you're overwriting onto the template. And so you do need Microsoft Word on your computer. One person in the team must have Microsoft Word on their computer. And so everyone could be working on it in Google Docs or wherever you want to be working on it. But one person should be responsible for taking the content and putting it in a formatted working template that can be submitted with each draft. So consider who's going to do that and how that will work out. So the problems that I see is that oftentimes, even with Microsoft Office and downloading Microsoft Word on your computer, with a Mac, we still have some issues, the formatting. And one of the main things that I find is that the line spacing changes. So what I find often is I see something like this with many lines spacing between sections. So we don't want to see that. We want to see that the entire document is double line spaced completely, all the sections, of course, unless you have a heading that needs to go to the next page. And then the double line spacing should be throughout the document, except for figures and tables and the reference list. So we'll go over that in the next section. We want it to be a nice professional report. So please, please do not delete the brackets until you've already included your information. All right, and that's it for this assignment. Then we will go into the strategy section for the next draft. So what I'd like you to do is, before you submit the next draft for the strategy section, you need to have a grade from me that I have agreed to what you have in here. And if I suggest that you make some changes, I need you to make those changes and include that with your next draft. So this is going to be a work in progress. You're just going to you're going to continue working with this document, and you're going to add to it. So you've already done the strategic planning, you've done the introduction, you've done the cover page. The following draft, you're going to do the strategy section and a few other areas in here. And then the following, you will do the piece section. So you're going to be building on this same document each time you submit a draft. So I just want to be really clear about that. Please do not, oh, it's getting late, I'm running out of time, let me submit this draft because it might be late, and then I work right on the next draft and submit that one at the same time. Please do not do that. Do not submit another draft assignment until you've received feedback from me from the current draft that you're working on. And if it means that you're going to be late on one of the draft assignments, that is okay. If you don't have feedback from me, do not submit the next draft. All right, because I just want to be sure that this document is a work in progress and is. All right, I think you will find the examples helpful. Let's go ahead and take a look. It's Bonehook Brewing Company. You can see the nice logo here on the front. You can see everything is completed here. It's in APA format and formal date. The table of contents has been updated because this is the final document. So you can see that that's all done. And then we go into the strategic planning, very simple information here. The introduction is completed and you get a feel for the whole report. And you can use this as an example to help you to see that you're on the right track as you're writing your report. There is a second report here. This one is a little bit different. Again, I said that this one is a publicly traded company. And if you have a publicly traded company you want to work with, that's fine. So this is a bit different. I can show you, again, this is completed. And then you see the strategic planning, very brief information here, introduction section, and then we go into the components of it. All right, so I think we're good with this right now. Thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to receiving your introduction section.